So, remember when I did that review of the 3 Optimus Primes in the small scale, and I kinda said that the Optimus Prime from Dark of the Moon was a bit iffy? Before I start this review, I want to preface that that is not a good representation of the entire line, because the line had some really good ideas. Fun fact, it was actually spearheaded by John Warden, the current head of the Transformers department at Hasbro, so you can see how a lot of those gimmicks carried over. The problem is, the Optimus that I reviewed wasn't a good indication of what the series was like, because there were some fantastic toys. Granted, my perception of the series isn't that great because Dark of the Moon was about the time where I started falling off the Transformers franchise when I took my hiatus. One of the toys that I did fortunately grab though was Cyberverse Commander Sentinel Prime. Can you tell that I bought him before the movie? Because if it was afterwards, I probably would have skipped him. Sculpt-wise, this guy is pretty amazing. Paint-wise, he could use a lot more paint apps. And that is the quintessential issue of Transformers Cyberverse. The Dark of the Moon Cyberverse, not the current Cyberverse. Can Hasbro just stop reusing names, please? Sentinel Prime transforms into a pretty awesome fire truck with all the details you could expect. They've even painted in the logo here, and some numbers, and the Autobot symbol. I don't really think that number is, representative of anything. I think it's just a number that the real vehicle had. The movie line doesn't really make references like that, except on throwaway nostalgia toys. The main issue with the paint would have to be the lack of windows. I can go in there and paint it myself, and I'm thinking after this I might, but in the end it's just a bit disappointing, because there's so much paint this guy could use, but it just doesn't. Come on, couldn't you put some blue in there, or maybe some dark purple or something? Regardless, the sculpting on this thing is really good. One thing I especially like is that they've got these ribbed sections that just go down to simulate the sliding doors that go up. Also, another thing I really enjoy is the weapon integration. The sword stores under there absolutely seamlessly, it works really well. And the shield? Well, you can't even tell it's there. It's just perfectly integrated into the robot mode. Yes, that does count as parts forming, and without the shield you can't really transform him properly, but it's done in such a way where losing the shield is very difficult. I mean, if I pick it up where the shield is supposed to be, that's not going anywhere. The back is a little bit worse for wear because unfortunately you can see I broke off a bit, but that doesn't affect anything in the robot mode, and the vehicle mode's not too bad either. Again, the gripes are just the paint, because the sculpting on this thing is beautiful. There is so much here, and it works really well, but there's no paint to back it up. Regardless, he also has a pretty fantastic transformation. But before I get to that, of course, size comparison, as you do. So to transform him, first thing you do is you take the kibble cape and you separate it, and that allows you to detach the weapon. That is a brilliant integration. You honestly can't tell it's there until you take it off. And at that point you can also take the sword off, and we'll add those back when we get to robot mode. You bring these forward a bit, and then this entire assembly rotates up. The feet fold back like so. The arms unpeg from under here, and this entire front section also folds out. If you bring these all the way up, it's a bit easier. You can bring these down. I'll show you what that's like from this angle. Just kind of folds like so. Changing the camera angle to make it a bit easier. What you want to do here is orient the arms correctly, like so. To lock the chest in place, you actually flip the head up, and then these don't go anywhere. That's an interesting use of a head reveal, actually. You can do the head reveal at the end, but, it's better to do it earlier. You disconnect the legs, rotate them around like so, and then you come around to the back, fold up this part here, push it into the back, and then you bring these down. If all goes well, it actually tabs in somewhere. I'm not sure whereabouts it tabs in, but I can definitely feel it tabbing in. And then finally, after the robot mode is done, you can work on the weapons. The shield is really cool. What you do is, you rotate this section inward, and then clip it into place. And then the shield can go in either hand, and the sword can also go into either hand. I'm not sure if that's the correct way to do it. It might be the other way around, but it works. All things considered, this guy is a very good robot mode, with some sparse paint apps, yes, but it's still pretty good. There are a few small issues with him, but in terms of representing the character, he does so surprisingly well. And here's the thing, he's the only Sentinel Prime that has an accurate chest that is actually formed from the right parts of the vehicle. If you look at the Leader class, the chest is completely inaccurate, it doesn't work at all. And then you take a look at the Voyager class, it is accurate, but it uses a fake piece on the bottom. And that toy kind of looks shitty overall, so, you know, just skip it anyway. Whereas this one uses it properly and uses it well. Even the peg that the sword clips into is very easily hidden. The only thing that really detracts from it are these wheels here, but it's a Cyberverse Commander figure. What you gonna do? The other part where the sculpt kind of breaks up are the feet. They're very far forward. I feel it would have benefited the figure if they had folded in, but that would have been a higher budget. And I feel that the weapons integration here is so good that the higher budget wasn't really necessary. It's a small blemish and it's still a fantastic toy. The weapons themselves have some decent paint on it. You've got the symbol here that's also etched into the actual shield itself, so it's not just paint, it's also sculpted in. And the sword's got some nice silver paint as well. You also got silver paint here, here, here. The only place it could really use is it on the windows, but again, that would cost more, and they did do another version of it, but it kind of looks shitty. Also, the face is a bit underpainted as well, but, you know, it's not too bad. The thing I really enjoy is the integration of the kibble cape. I really liked that design from the movie, and the way they've done it here works surprisingly well, especially at the scale. It looks completely accurate thanks to the way the shield is clipped in, and it just works. Honestly, this is a marvel of engineering at this size. I really feel I didn't give Cyberverse enough praise when I reviewed the Optimus, because the Optimus is kinda shit. Whereas this figure is actually quite good, probably because it wasn't based on an existing Legion toy and was built from the ground up. He also oozes his size. He's not that big, he's a bit bigger than the average Legends figure, but he creates the illusion of size through sculpting alone, and that is a very nice feat. But before I go, I completely forgot about articulation, so you get a swivel here, and you get a ball joint that gets you some decent movement, so there's no problems with the shoulders. The arms, they don't quite get 90, but they do well enough. Then you just got ball joints here and ball joints here that get you the thigh swivel. You can also move the cape around. It's not great articulation, but just putting him in an A stance and leaving him there should do the trick. He is a very, very good figure on his own, so articulation isn't as necessary as you'd think it would be. My copy may be a little worse for wear, and the paint overall may be a little bit underdone, but overall, the sculpting on this figure and the awesome transformation definitely make this a top tier figure. The weapon integration is a nice bonus, and I love the way that they've done the kibble cape at the back there. It's a real shame that people don't discuss Sentinel Prime more, because he's a fantastic design from the movieverse, but of course people want to get a Lockdown instead, or a Bone Crusher, or a Devastator. Come on, when am I gonna get my movie masterpiece Sentinel Prime, huh? Please? Please? But tomorrow we go down from the Commanders to the Legions, and it's time to start dreading tomorrow's episode. Haha, very funny.